Right. Greetings of the day from Center for Advanced Studies in Labor Welfare here at Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law. In this episode, we have with us Mr. Ashish Mittal, who is a Group Chief Human Resources Officer at Sreenidhi Educational Group. He also has his mention in Asia's Power Leaders in HR and also Forbes India Top 50 HR Leaders. He's a motivational speaker, a keynote speaker, a panelist, among other things. Thank you so much, sir, for taking the time out. In this episode, we'll be navigating the future of work, that is, exploring the intersection of AI and labor laws. I believe that labor law is a junction wherein every discipline can come and contribute. And in this, if we have the idea or the guidance of the corporate laws in the world, we would be enriched with a lot of different disciplines. So we have with us, sir. So we'll be starting. I'll be presenting the first question. So at the very onset, this whole biggest controversy of AI stealing the job, it is everywhere. Every report just keeps on saying that AI is stealing the jobs. There is so many apprehensions with the job seekers, right? There are a lot of pros and cons to this argument, and but the reality of it remains that as to how to navigate a workplace where AI, a machine, competes. Uh, so, sir, how do we go about this?
Sure. See, definitely technology is here to stay, and actually, technology has kind of changed the entire way we live our lives. I mean, it's creeped in almost all the spheres. You talk about personal life, professional life, both the morning when you wake up, you see a smartphone, you see a smartwatch, everything. So AI is definitely there, and we are also aware of the latest reports published by Goldman Sachs, which says that more than 300 million
Yeah.
full-time jobs are going to be impacted, okay, with the invention of AI
Exactly.
tools like ChatGPT.
Yes.
So over here, definitely, I mean, it has its own merits and demerits, I would say. And I think so. The lot of jobs which are repetitive in nature are something which will be kind of taken over by technology. However, I mean, AI tools also have certain cons. For example, when it comes to emotions, like for example, thinking, feelings. For if I put from a legal point of view, an AI chatbot or an AI program can only work based upon the data it has been fed, historical data, okay, based on the past data it has been fed. But when it, for example, from a legal perspective, if I put myself, how well can it understand what exactly my client wants or what exactly my employer wants? That is something which a chat GPT cannot do. So I would say, yes, technologies here, chat GPTs, and they're going to replace a lot of repetitive jobs in nature. But yes, again, they also, I mean, chat GPTs and any AI tools come with a very high cost. So it's not very easy to simulate the human behavior. There are certain, I mean, it takes own time and cost. So I would say it has its own set of challenges and benefits. I mean, there are a lot of benefits. For example, some repetitive like welding, painting in the manufacturing sector, if you take for that matter, or for that matter, if you take in HR, for example, drafting policies, drafting various kind of contracts. I mean, I just said the press of a button, I'm going to get each and everything.
Yeah.
Secondly, if I'm looking at productivity, 24 bar 7, no sick leaves, no emotions, no feelings,
Yes.
only work. Where technology comes into play from a business point of view.
Yes.
So, and it's available, I mean, round the clock, and it can work, and satisfy my clients, my customers, answer my queries. So I think we should just take a right balance of technology and people. So I think we should just strike this balance in a very sensitive manner so that we as human beings, we're talking about in industry 5.0, right? Wherein we are able to use technology for us and not to replace the humans as such.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with the point that productivity wise and like for corporates, it is a win-win because if we take into the picture that AI will come in, the whole idea, the whole landscape only changes. I think something that you must actually go through a lot, catering to the sick leaves, catering to the emotions that these employees have. So I think that would be a win-win, but I think nobody can, replace humans as such. So the idea remains the same. And also, sir, I just to follow up on that question, I'm very curious as to how do we deal with the prejudice and the bias that the AI comes in with. There are a lot of biases that AI inbuilt has innately has in itself. So how do we cater to that? Because a lot of these data are put in by humans, us, right? And all of these data have subsequent consequences, and these data are uploaded in a manner that fulfill their personal one data also. Like we have also seen in the whole Twitter controversy and everything. So I think one thing is that AI, even though it's a machine, it is not bereft of prejudices. So what do you think about this?
See, I would say definitely, see, to a certain extent, we have one more concept in recruitment. We call it the blind hiring. I mean, I'm not sure if you have heard of the blind recruitments, wherein we hide all the demographics details of a
Right.
particular candidate. So that my point is so that there is minimum amount of biasness. Okay. So when it comes to, for example, Robert, I mean, today, see, I would say we will have to a little bit understand in detail because there are a lot of benefits also AI comes. For example, when we talk about robots performing surgery, we have seen that the chances of robots performing a surgery, the chance for human errors are minimum, and the chance of success rate for the patient are very good. This was actually also told by Sundar Pichai in one of the latest speech, which I read on a LinkedIn article that it says how the AI image was actually able to zoom in and see the retina image, which the doctors are just not able to go see through that. So I would say, and coming down to biases, again, I'm saying we have to be a little more specific. And are you referring in a particular context or a situation? Because that will give a little more detailed clarity to your question.
No, so actually, it was just a off the shoot question. I was very curious to seek your answer to this. We'll move on to the second question. So, sir, we have a newsletter that is Shram series, wherein we keep updating people about their, newses that surround us, but we don't actually know of. So, these are essentially explainer series, right? So, we have this newsletter, and wherein we addressed this issue of Baiju's layoff. Uh, it has been a fascinating, interesting, and very sad, so to say, news. What do you say about corporate laying off mass laying off of employees?
So it's, I would say it's pretty sad, and to a large extent, see, we need to understand that every employer and employee is bound by the relationship of their contract. Okay. So please, I would never get into emotions. I'll give my life for my organization. I will die for my. What happened to one of the Byju's employee who was sacked? He said, I worked round the clock, 24/7. One of the employees, I had read his article in Economic Times about 15 days back, 10 days back. He said, I worked round the clock. Now, my question is, who asked you to work around the clock?
Yeah.
Okay. So point is today, we as an employee also have to be matured and sensible because we are here to add value to us and to our employer. But at the same time, we should not become a scapegoat. We should not sacrifice our life for the sake of an employee, for the sake of an employer. So point is, that's the reason. So once you are very clear on what is my terms and conditions of my contract, give your best output, give your 200% best shot, work smartly. Okay. So my point is, definitely it has been a very sad situation that some of the best employees, they were asked to kind of, just move out immediately. So point is, for example, in the Western countries, they also pay, I mean, say 5 times the salary, 6 times the salary, or probably 10 times, depending on the junior level, top level, middle level, different levels of management. So they give a proper packages, severance packages, so that employee is able to take care of emotions, feelings, financial, and the dependents. But here in this case, definitely I do not see that that's the right way to handle layoffs. Because I mean, I think last year, somewhere in October, Baiju Ravindran himself promised that after 2,500, there will not be further layoffs. He had given an assurance to employees. So the point is, where is the question of trust? And when there is no trust, then there's no relationship, right? So my point is,
I think, yeah.
please go ahead.
No, no, I'm so sorry. Just, yeah.
So I'm just saying is every employee should always remember the kind of how we are bounded by the organization, understand the terms and conditions of the contract, and even if an employer is asking you to do it, you have a notice period, 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months. So as long as your employer is paying you the notice period and you have amicable terms mutually discussed and agreed out, it's okay. We can understand businessing, but have ethical ways of laying off and not just unethically laying off is 100% wrong.
So, how is the legal compliance like for mass laying off? Is it simple, or is it actually dependent on the contract itself? Is there any other compliances that companies follow?
So typically, for example, the word layoff is not there printed in any of the offer letters, right? We
Right.
don't write on any of the offer letters. You would not have read it. I have not read it in the last 2.5 decades. So the point is, ultimately talks about we talk about termination clause in an employment letter, right? We have a termination clause, termination note, the terms and conditions for ending a contract. which will be the 3 months. And if your employee wants to leave, it can be whether you have to pay back to the organization, subject to an employer accepting that. So point is, the word layoff is nowhere printed on your offer letter. So it's only the called, I mean, your end of employment. End of employment, it's in black and white, which is printed. So if as long as an employer is following the rules and regulations, like 3 months, because the rule is rule either side. It's not a one-way rule, right? It's a two-way rule at both sides. I think that's going to be fair and square. And yes, if an employer wants to be of good reputation, wants to attract talent and still be on top of the market, I would say if your notice period 3 months, you try looking at paying 4 or 5 months so that an employee understands your business need and try working out mutually, between employees and employer. But it's very important that you take care of emotional well-being, mental stress a person is going through, especially during these tough times. So we can't just because I'm just not making profits, I'm just going to ask this, sack these people off. No, it's not going to work like that at all. Because what happens when you do that? Nobody will join an organization. Trust me.
Yes.
Nobody,
Yeah.
no same person is going to join.
I think very following this up, I think the idea that there's an atmosphere of mass layoff, right? There are a lot of companies, a lot of corporates that are following this. I don't know if it's because of the recession or the financial conditions, whatever reason they may be. But I think the idea has always scared employees because, and that also relates to their productivity, which the corporate is actually, looking after. So how does HR practices or how does good HR practices come into picture to avoid this apprehension of that sword of Damascus that they have on their heads, of laying off? How does the HR practice comes into picture here?
A very good question. First of all, I would like to strongly recommend each and every employee that today are the times of upskilling and reskilling,
Yes,
right?
yeah,
Every skill, like a product, has a shelf life.
yeah.
The earlier average shelf life was probably 8 years, 10 years. Today, it's not more than 2 to 3 years. The skill today is going to become redundant, outdated probably in a couple of months or maximum 1.5 to 2 years. So what I would like to strongly recommend and suggest that every employee should invest in self-learning, do a lot of certifications, keep yourself updated and relevant to all the latest technologies. So that first of all, you see your self-interest as an employee, safeguard yourself first, take proactive measures. Don't put entire, just blame game, because we're all grown up, mature adults, all are 18 years and above. So we should understand. And as long as you invest in yourself, in learning and keeping abreast of what's happening and getting required certifications, upgrading, reskilling, getting different competencies. So that will help you to actually safeguard yourself first. That's the biggest shield for any employee in any organization. Point number one. From an employer perspective, as I mentioned earlier, it's very important that what's written on your employment, what commitment is given to each and every employee on the offer letter should be honored without a second thought. So as an HR organization, for example, I also understand, yes, my organization may go bankrupt, various XYZ reasons. But yes, at any come what may, whatever has been committed to an employee on an offer letter will be
Has to be
honored.
followed. Yeah.
Has to be followed. There are no two ways about it. Very simple, straightforward.
Right. Uh, Following up, this question, I think our whole interview can be of this question. So we know that the COVID has induced this new normal of work from home. And it is a very interesting tangent because while there are studies that show that the employees work better where they actually are in their comfort space, but there are also studies which show that you need to be out of your comfort space to actually be productive. You need to have that panopticon, surveillance kind of a system so that people are in charge. And I think that's what offices do. The proper attire, the office attire are just a way to discipline employees so as to work, productively. How do you think this is going to affect HR practices and then obviously employment laws and service laws?
Sure. See, work from home, hybrid working, remote working is here to stay.
Right, yeah.
Okay, because COVID was a game changer, and now organization have understood that people are going to work, people are going to be productive, and people want the flexible timings to have a proper work-life balance. So if you come in terms of labor code, definitely today we do not have a very structured law around work from home or this flexible
Yeah.
work practices, we do not have. But I remember, I think they had given to a shop and establishment, they had given to SEZ, Special Economic Zones employees working that, till 31st December 2023. they'll be allowed to work from home. All the 100% of the employees, there was a law which was passed. And but yes, apart from that, we do not have anything very specific. But yes, there needs to be in the new labor code, there has to be a clear definition of what is work from home with clear boundaries. I can't be calling up an employer, or a manager cannot be calling an employee morning 6 a.m. or night 11 p.m. Just at any time at the heck and bell of it. So the courts have to very clearly define what is it, and again keeping ensuring that the employee's privacy is there, personal time is there, it's being respected and honored. So a lot of work has to go around it. A clear definition has to be shared and has to come out so that both the employer and the employer are aware about it. So a lot of work needs to be done in this space, but today we do not have very clear in black and white. As in terms of the law, we do not have anything 100% in black and white.
So I've seen a lot of instances of people joining, because I know that there is, from whatever I know, because I'm not in corporate right now. So there are a lot of these issues of people joining in and going here, right? And there are issues of people not following the decorum of the office, or because you're joining in the comfort of your houses. So how does corporate react to that? How does the HR come into that? Is there a specific regulation that companies have created, considering there is no law? Are certain regulations being drafted by companies itself?
Sure. So here, typically what happens is we actually, to a large extent, go as per the managers, the line managers, what they report. My point is,
Okay.
today we have also given to a large extent, as long as business is happening, we are giving it, it's being flexible. Suppose somebody is working from anywhere. We have employees who have gone for a trek and, for 2 days, and 2 days they're available full time for the work. So we are okay with that, as long as productivity is not being impacted. But yes, wherein employees do not follow certain discipline, do not follow the discipline like meeting timings, deliveries being impacted, that's somewhere where HR gets involved in it, when we look at it more seriously, because that is someone who's trying to misuse the facility of being working from home. And so that's something there we actually get everything documented in terms of deliverables, because with the, online interviews and online meetings, everything is recorded, who's coming late, and in terms of deliverables. So that once the productivity is being impacted, everything is being captured and everything is data is being recorded. That's where HR gets into discipline mode, if you are having counsel, warning, trying to understand what is going on in an employee's life. Because we have seen at times an employee could be just going through a personal stress, momentary, personal, temporary stress. At that time, so HR gets involved, and we say the line manager, give a day or 2 or 3 days off to this particular employee, so that he comes back to normal situation. He's able to focus back on work. So we, I would say, to a large extent, go to a case by case basis. But otherwise, from a blanket rule perspective, we leave it to a line managers, because as long as work is not being impacted, we are okay with that.
Okay. So how is the productivity level? Has it been increased now that people are in their homes? What is the, status like on the ground?
So I would say it again varies from industry to industry. For example, in the IT industry, definitely yes, because a lot of people are happy. I would say again, it's a bit of mixed bag. When I've spoken to a lot of employees, they say, Ashish, we are very happy. We are mommy, papa ke paas thehre, we are staying at home, getting a home food, no need to pay house rent, and no need to travel. And I'm at comfort level, their own North Indian is sitting in North, the South Indian is sitting in South, having that luxury of, having the thing. But same time, I've also had very unpleasant experiences as well in terms of from employees. They say, Ashish, it's like our personal space, personal freedom is out. It also depends upon what age group a particular person, an employee is from. Someone who's between, say, age group of 25 to 35, they prefer to be more individual, away from home, away from parents. So they want to enjoy their life. So it's actually, I prefer staying in PG, yeah, so we want to really
Independence. Yeah.
independence चाहिए मुझे, and that's how the generation is, the Gen Z, right? They don't want
Yeah.
micromanagement or somebody keeping a tab on what time they're coming, going. It's a bit hard these days to accept. Whereas someone who's married and settled, they want to stay back with their children, grandchildren, parents, grandparents. So all that. So my point is, if I look at the slice the data, so between the 20 to 30, it's different. 30 to 40, it's different. But yes, to a large extent, the different lines of businesses, there have been employees who are being able to deliver much more efficiently as against working in office. But when it comes to different industries, the data could be exactly diametrically opposite.
Just an offshoot of what you just said, the idea of, not migrating to tier one cities for bigger MNCs or bigger corporates to work with. The new normal work from home has actually changed that. And I think that's a great step, because we need to honor our tier 2 and tier 2 3 cities. What is your take on this?
Oh, definitely, yes. That's the reason if you look at Bangalore, Karnataka, I
Yeah,
mean, Bangalore is kind of completely saturated. So they're moving it tier 2 and tier 3
completely.
towns. Right now, I'm operating from Telangana. So the Telangana government has been very proactive. They're opening IT parks in tier 2 and tier 3 towns. So the point is because your tier 1 towns are completely saturated, inflation costs are extremely high. So point is, and people they don't want to spend their time traveling to 4 hours on a travel, commuting every day, spending time, and again adding on to the pollution. And we're talking about ESG initiatives, right? So definitely a lot of focus is going to the development of tier 2 and tier 3 towns where people can have a good quality life and still, have a good decent pay and a very good work experience. So focus and the shift is going to tier, and that's where I think focus is. There are a lot of opportunities are there. And a lot of, I think, so a lot of tech parks. Infosys has opened its office somewhere in North Karnataka. I read about a month back. So a lot of companies are planning to open that. And also another huge plus point is when you hire the talent from tier 2 and tier 3 towns, your attrition levels are quite lesser.
Okay.
Because in tier 1 towns, people keep, switching jobs. Here, tier 2, when you hire people, okay, the local people, they're staying with their families. I mean, they're not being uprooted from their local grassroots levels. At the comfort level zone, they're getting a global MNC experience. So attrition levels are much lower. People stick on for a longer time and they're more productive. So I think so it's going to be a win-win situation for the employee and an employer.
Right. Something which is also a part of a bigger debate, the idea of culture of hustle, I think Gen Zs have this idea of toning that down, but I think millennials are somewhere still there. The whole idea is actually productive if you see from the corporate side of the view, but is also very toxic if you want to work-life balance, right? And I think the ideas and the examples of Korea and Japan just comes into my mind. The horrible work-life balance that these people have, they're working 24/7. I think, what do you think about this? Like, what is your idea of
Sure.
culture of hustle? Yeah.
So I would say, unfortunately, fortunately, that's a kind of it's a current trend which is kind of prevailing. So I would say the onus completely lies to an individual. I'll repeat, it completely lies to an individual. My point is, if you are able to prioritize what you want in life, if you are able to do a proper time management, if you are able to have your proper work-life balance, have me time, have spend time for your hobbies, I think a lot depends upon you because an employer will never say stop working. Employer will probably want you to work 26 hours a day if you're ready, right? So the point is, are you taking the right decisions? There is a mad rat race in the corporate world, fine, but not at the cost of your life, at the cost of your mental health, at the cost of your depression. So I tell people like, what's the point of earning so much money and finally spending that on your hospitals later down the lane? Or probably getting a lot of disease. And in today's time, when the time is of, I mean, high, it's a high premium. No one has time. And look at a very, we don't have an active lifestyle, right? We have a very sedentary lifestyle, just coming, sitting on the laptops, working, eating junk food, chips, and all. I mean, unhealthy foods. Okay, so that's all going to add on to our health in a very, very negative pattern. So the point is, it's very important. I would say every employee should take out time or so that you find what your hobbies are. You like gardening, cycling, and I would strongly support that. Please include 1 or 2 sports in your life. It's extremely a must because sports teaches you a lot. Today we are seeing so many suicidal cases. You open Instagram, it's filled with so many husband killed wife killed husband, tech employee did this every day. 10 to 15 murder stories, horror stories, all this kind of thing we hear. Why? There is lack of emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. There is no trust today left in relationships. Everybody is doubting each other. So the point is, while you're working, please understand first, don't cheat yourself. Take out time for yourself. Have self-love. Know where your fire in the belly is, what you want to do in life. Do your work, but also have your own individual identity. So, for example, what is Ashish? If I remove from my group CHRO, what is Ashish? Do you have your individual
Yeah.
identity? Do you have a passion? So do that because the earlier you start, you have a more shelf life. So because when you play sports, when you have a hobbies, it helps you to balance. And then you have positive hormones coming, positive hormones which actually give you a lot of
Endorphins.
motivation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Endorphins, yes. So you have a lot of satisfaction levels you get it. So that way what happens, you are able to scale probably slower but greater heights over a longer period of time in your life.
which is also satisfactory, so to say. Because even
Absolutely.
if you ride up, you are up the ladder of corporate, but what's there?
Yeah.
Because at the end, you have spent uh, your youth, so to say, in just hustling. Um, just the offshoot also of this is the idea that this hustle culture is also feeded to college students like us, right? The hustle culture is so ingrained in everybody that they have to upskill every you have to keep upskilling, you have to do every possible competition in a law school also. It's like a rat race here. Whatever your colleague is doing, whatever your classmate is, fellow people are doing, you need to actually contribute to that so that you are a better pick. How do we deal with all of this? I think something which I think HR also deals with is the idea of mental health also coming into picture. Because culture of hustle has such a great impact on the mental health. Is HR actually doing conducting workshops for better for maintaining better work life balance, or for contributing to life more, like the philosophical side that we also talked about? How is HR contributing to that?
Sure. See, actually, I would say for a mental health point of view, to a large extent, it is the individual's responsibility. Okay. Because, and we are not babies. I would say, I mean, HR, what I'm going to send mass mailers. I'm going to send emails, take care of your health, mental health. I'm going to
Yeah.
send mails every 15 days. But at the end of the day, most of the people shift delete. I know HRM, they don't read. So my point is I mean, I'm being very realistic. I would say people, and why should HR? I mean, it's ultimately your life, your responsibility, right? So you should not leave your life in the hand of HR or in the hand of anybody else. You should know what's important for your life. You should prioritize. You should take, and for example, I keep telling employees, please take breaks. Don't work like zombies around the clock. It's okay. Now, for example, you're saying as a college student, we are being bombarded with so many events, conferences, seminars, certifications, counterparts. I mean, we have the fear of missing out, FOMO, we call it. So the
Yeah.
point is, yes, in today's world, we need to know what's happening, globally. But I'm saying, I mean, all said and done, it's also important that you take out time out for yourself. Because what's the point? I mean, you work probably 24 hours, and probably after a few days or months, I mean, we have seen so many cases of heart attacks. So many we have fatty liver disease. There was a survey which was done, found that today, I just read in one of the Economic Times article in Telangana that most of the schools children had fatty liver disease, which was not existing 10 years back, 10 years earlier. It only used to come after the age of 40, 50, non-alcoholic fatty liver, NAFLD, they call it. I'm surprised that schools with the fifth, sixth standards are having it today just because of junk food and fried foods and everything. So what I'm saying is mental health is something very important and every individual should take out for themselves. As an HR, yes, I'm going to probably counsel if somebody comes to help or if somebody's feeling low, I can do how much at an individual level. And yes, we're sending, and if somebody wants a professional help, counselor, psychiatrist, we can arrange that. So we can act as a mediator, as a catalyst. But the ownership of having the right mental health lies on in every single individual because the same 24 hours which are available to someone who's a very successful person versus someone else. So the point is, how are you using your time? How are you using your time efficiently or wisely? Are you striking the right balance, or are you completely glued on to your iPhones or gadgets around the clock? That's not what is life meant for. So at least invest 60 hours, 60 minutes per day in some physical support so that your physical health is taken care. Once that is taken care to a large extent, because sports put a lot of discipline, self-discipline, how much to eat, when to sleep. Because when you have some disciplined sports as a part of your life, discipline automatically creeps into your DNA. Because you have to sleep well so that you are able to perform well. You eat well, so again you have proper control on your health. So I said the moment you include one or two sports in your life, your discipline comes into you, and then you are able to perform much, much better in your life.
Right. Right. So another thing that I wanted to understand is that because there are MNCs and these are these big corporate worlds, right? And there are people coming in from everywhere. And and in like a closer home example for me would be this university. It's a pan-India university. People from north, south, northeast, from the west and everywhere just keep coming, right? And they have this different aspirations, obviously, but they also have different background values. They have different cultures, so to speak. How does HR practice, help in reconciling all of these differences?
So I would say diversity is a big asset for any organization. And diversity is extremely important because it facilitates innovation, creativity, thinking. And again, learning from cross-border cultures, different. So it's very important. So diversity should always be seen as an asset. So when we have people from different diverse backgrounds, it's very important that you stitch them together with a common thread, with the vision and mission of the organization, and trying to understand and appreciate each other's culture rather than questioning or kind of putting it down. So I would say in a campus, when you have students from across the globe or probably from all over the country, there is so much to learn. You celebrate each and every festival. You celebrate Onam, you celebrate Diwali, you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate Eid for that matter. So I think it's a very good opportunity and very good platform for each individual to understand the cultures of different states, understand the different patterns, attitudes. So because ultimately you guys are going to hit the global world, you're going to hit the corporate world tomorrow. In a corporate world, it's a mixed bag. You have people from all over the globe, not only
Right.
India. So how are we going to interact with an American and an Aussie and different people, different cultures? So I think these colleges are a very good platform because this is giving a very good exposure already. So if you make the best use of it, I think that's only going to improve your overall personality is something which I can say.
Another thing was with the Vishaka guidelines coming into picture, um, does is the HR actually conducting sexual harassment, workshops and everything, or is HR actually accessible for incidents which occur at workplaces like such? How does the HR go about this?
Sure, definitely. We do conduct sexual harassment. We have sexual harassment initiatives and policies in the organization. So we conduct workshops. For example, every new employee who joins, so we conduct every month. We have a sexual harassment kind of workshop where everybody understands the definition of what is sexual harassment, so that once people are aware, we try to prevent rather than doing a post-mortem. We try to prevent such actions. Point number one. Point number two, we have a very well-defined process in terms of any employee wants to kind of raise their concern or kind of harassment which they want to bring. They have a clear-cut, well-defined policy and a process with defined timelines. We have an ICC committee also which kind of comes into the play so that every employee feels very safe to work and also very feel completely safe to share their concern, and also the fact that it will be kept highly confidential. So there are very clear, well-defined metrics and practices which are kind of defined inside internally in an organization.
Right. So something which I think businesses as such and human relations conflict with is that the corporate needs productivity and the human relations keep on, providing that factor that you need to also have the satisfaction of work, right? This idea that you are actually doing what that work has some level, that work has some value for that corporate because it feels like because the corporates are so big now that it feels intimidated on a very normal level from people for people coming from second and three tier cities. How does the HR come into picture when we talk about value of work for the employees?
So I would say, again, it's very important. I would say it's a combined effort between a line manager and HR. HR acts as a facilitator.
Okay.
Okay. So HR is a catalyst, but ultimately it is the line manager. So for example, we conduct sometimes vision and mission workshops. So that to ensure that every employee is aligned, we do not leave that with the line managers. However, for an employee to understand how passionate he or she is with the work on a day-to-day basis, a lot lies between the employee and the line manager. Okay,
Right.
and the communication. Now, point number two, like for example, I had also kind of initiated one of the initiative called skip level meetings in one of my organizations, wherein we have an employee and we have the employee's reporting manager is not a part of the meeting. So it's skip level meeting. And this on top, we have this next level manager and an HR. So we try to understand. So my point is again, during the induction, because this skip level meetings, it's like it's going to expose everything. There's no shady practices anybody can even think of kind of, taking it lightly, because today's content, we talk about EX, employee experience, right? It's very important. So the various touch points, and we cannot take for granted, okay, he has spent 2 years, 3 years, I take it him or her very lightly. No, because from a human point of view, an employee is considering every single transaction, every single interaction with the employee as some, because that will actually make or break his decisions to either to stick
Stay.
on the organization or to move out.
Yeah.
So every action is important. So I would say how well a person is kind of able to sink in with a job, or how he or she is motivated is between the employee and the line manager. But again, I think today's employees are, I mean, the Gen Zs who are making the max of the workforce are very vocal about it. If they're not comfortable, they
Yeah.
very openly say, I want to change either a location or change of manager, change of project, change of PM or whatever it is. So they'll be very vocal, and that's where HR comes. If there's a logical, if there's business sense, yes. But if somebody's just trying to escape work, then again HR handles in a different way.
So how is this change, this generational change feeling for the HR,
See, I would say we have to go along with the change. At the same time, we cannot allow to dilute the policies and processes. Now, I cannot say every week I want to change my job, or every week I want a different project. Every week I have some, I mean, kind of things. So, I mean, something which is unrealistic in nature, HR will not accept it. Something, so point over here, there have been a lot of queries sometimes when I was working in the corporates earlier. As employees come and ask, Ashish, 1 month I'm here, I want to go to Delhi, and another month, no, I want here. So these kind of patterns, erratic patterns, something which we don't encourage, or we are very clear, but something which is very genuine. So that's why I'm saying all out, for example, there could be a lot of personal family-based needs, emergency situations in one's life. So then we try to put on someone on a short-term project, or we probably even look at long-term transfers. So depending on a case to case basis, we try to help as much as possible understanding the employee's situation.
But I think with the Gen Z coming in, the whole idea of mental health has, been focused. The whole idea of, eradicating the toxic culture of corporates. Because while I understand your point of view that it's an individual thing, but I also say that companies have a lot to play in that. Because the companies are actually there for emotional, because the companies, because employees actually work 24/7 and round the clock. That's not, they're not told to, but because this idea that you have this object to go to work every day and do your best is so ingrained in everybody of us that it feels only
Absolutely.
normal to give your everything, you know and I think the generational gap has actually made people realize that it's okay to take that self me time, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So
so here,
yeah,
please go ahead.
no, I was just finished.
Sure. So I'm saying definitely when you're talking about employer point of view, see someone is working around the clock. We also encourage employees taking leaves. Now, for example, when I see that employees working and not taking any leaves in the last 6 months, I actually have a one-on-one meeting with him. Is everything all right? And I would encourage that to take a time off, take a balanced way. We are not encouraging everyone to take leaves at a shot, but at least in a month, but take 1 or 2 days, it's okay. There's nothing, so that you're able to balance and have a right balance, because ultimately life has many things. Work is not the only one thing, right? So point is, when employees work, we foster a culture that personal victories, personal challenge, somebody wants to go for a trekking or something, wants to go for an expedition, we are more than happy and we would like to welcome such things, provided it's falls within the right, you follow the protocols of the organization, but we are open to it. The point is when an employees understand, that I have these options whenever I want to go. Leh Ladakh, you can't go throughout the year, right? There are a few months only where you can go for a Leh Ladakh thing. So my point is, so we encourage employees that way as long as the business is not impacted. And so I think from an HR perspective, especially my top performers who are working, I tell them, please take off. We don't want you to work around the clock here. We don't want, it's extremely important because we don't want to lose you. And secondly, we also want to ensure that you're able to have an overall rounded, well-groomed personality, and you should be a successful person as an individual. For your own
Yeah.
benefit, a win-win situation, we'd always recommend that.
Right. So, concluding the interview, is there anything that you want to contribute, considering that that students are seeing this as an insight to the new working conditions that they'll also be a part of? So, anything that you could add on to the discourse of, navigating future of work?
Sure. So I would just say that be extremely passionate about your work, be sincere, give your best shot, and also have the self-care and the self-love.
Yeah.
Have a proper work-life balance. Don't get carried over by projects. All these are there, but please understand you can't, remove yourself. You have to pay equal importance to yourself. And lastly, please build your own individual brand. It's very important. What are you, if I remove you from your organization, what is this particular individual known for? Have your own passion, and ensure that you have a good, proper work-life balance. Be passionate and about your work and also your hobbies equally. So that's something which I would like to strongly recommend,
Thank you so much, sir. I had like a insightful conversation. It was lovely for me. Uh,
Sure. Thank you so
Arun,
much.
yeah.
Yes, sir. So first of all, thank you so much for your insights, and it was really great hearing you. So I guess all the students and all the people belonging to the community will definitely get benefited from what you have spoken. So yeah, thanks for your presence, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you so
much,
much,
and
sir.
I look
Thank you.
forward probably when I come to Patiala sometime. I would like to visit your campus and also
Sure,
meet
sir.
all of you.
You're
It's
always
waiting
welcome.
for you. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Cheers.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.